Hey folks, what's up? Let's turn down the cool ambient music. Let me show you something here. So we're gonna have a little fun before we dig into the meat today. I'm gonna switch to headphones real quick here because my hearing is really shot today. So luckily I have a really powerful headphone amp, so I can really hear good when I am able to crank up my headphones. I've had this thing going off and on since last year when I had coronavirus, where basically my left ear, which is the ear that I can hear out of, just will stop working. Like it's like I can't clear my ears. Is what it feels like. Like they're completely congested. And I can blow air into them, and then you can hear for a second, and then it like goes away. Kind of like if you are going up on an airplane, or you're going down on an airplane. Like you start up high and you go down, and your ears like will not end up clearing like really at all. And that's just kind of where I'm at here with my hearing. And it's been a real problem. It's kind of stopped me from working. I thought I wasn't going to get this new little song done because I had my ear basically break in the middle of last week, so I couldn't hear anything. I can only hear with my hearing aid, which I'm thankful that I have my little, you guys can see it in the corner there, my little Baja hearing aid from Oticon. I was really thankful that I had this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to hear anyone say anything. I'd have to have people writing things down on paper. But I don't know. Something's wrong with my ear, and I can't really... It's hard to get in to see doctors right now because of the stupid COVID stuff. So, I don't know. Eventually, I'll get back in to see an ENT. Figure out why I'm going deaf in my other ear, or like why I'm having these episodes with my ear. There's something wrong. Like there needs to be like a surgery done or something. It's painful. Like my ear, like I get earaches. Is what it's like. So I don't know what that is. I looked in my ear with a scope. Maybe I'll do this live if you guys want to see gross stuff and see how absolutely bonkers weird my ears actually are. I have a little I don't know what the word is, but basically you can use it as an otoscope with a camera on it. And I can look in my ear and you can use it with a smartphone, but I could plug it into my computer and it basically works like a webcam. So I could show you guys like just how weird my left ear, every time the doctors look at it, you're like, your left ear maybe looks weirder than your right ear, which is your deaf ear, because like the tympanic membrane's all atrophied and all kinds of stuff that's really wacky with that. I'm going to mess with my mixer a little bit so I can hear myself just a bit, because otherwise I just can't hear myself at all. You guys see this? So this is like my mixer here. I think I might be able to crank it up a bit. Crank up the mic. No, the mic's already pretty much maxed. I guess that's as good as it's going to get for now. So I'm monitoring myself so I can like hear myself talk a little bit, and it's not really working. I just kind of hear this blah, 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 blah inside my head. All right, let me show you something fun. This is, no. All right. We'll turn up the volume a little bit so you can hear. I wonder if I could turn up... Oh, performance. Here we go. Let's turn everything down except performance. Performance we want to be like pretty loud. There we go. All right. Let's close this. Pull out our harp. All right. All right, so I figured out how to hook a MIDI keyboard up to this. I unlocked the Bard class because I found out like, yeah, you can actually play music. Timing is weird because of the way the program works, but like in order to get a MIDI keyboard to work, you have to use this program called, what's it called? I have it here. It's called, what's it called? Oh, Bohm's MIDI Translator. I got this from a guide. I'll go ahead and link the guide. If anybody plays Final Fantasy XIV and plays a Bard and you want to use an actual MIDI keyboard to do your own music here, you can check out this guide. So basically there's this it just takes MIDI inputs and turns them into key presses. And so this is what this will actually look like here. And so when you go back into the game, my MIDI keyboard's like over here, so you know you can play different stuff. I'd like to play in D minor. You can technically play the game on your MIDI keyboard, like, you know, you could use all your spells on your MIDI keyboard too with this, which would be really weird, but maybe someone might enjoy that. But anyway, yeah, you could actually play some music. The thing is that it doesn't have multi-voice. It doesn't support chords. So, like, if you press a chord, you're only going to hear one of the notes, right? Whichever. So you have to arpeggiate everything. Arpeggiate it to get that note out. And then there's a timing issue. There's like this weird lag, and so sometimes if you're playing something that's like faster, there's a weird timing thing, because like I'm playing that pretty evenly. But like the timing gets popped off somehow. There's like some kind of weird internal timing. Or like the way packets are sent. So you can't really play like a lot of really fast stuff this way. It just doesn't work out that good. But you can play something like slow and sweet. You can play stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. Check out the chat a little bit. Not being able to equalize can be a major hassle. I've got a disorder and cannot do it manually. One of the last times I flew, felt like my ears were bleeding just for under a week. Yeah, I had that problem too as a teenager. Couldn't clear my ears. My eustachian tubes have always had low function, and that after seeing a bunch of ENTs, I've had I think 5 or 6 tympanoplasties on my right ear. Because I'll just give you the whole like dumb medical history of what the hell's wrong with me. Anyway, so I'm going off on a tangent. There's some things I want to talk about. Once we get to about 1 o'clock, I'm going to start like the show for real. I want to look at the Blizzard lawsuit, and we're going to look at the actual filing, because nobody's paying attention to what's actually in the filing and what's going on with that. So we're going to get a little bit better perspective of what actually is going on with that. Everybody's just jumping on the bandwagon to like Blizzard bad and Blizzard employees bad. We'll take a look at that at about 1 o'clock, and then we'll play some Final Fantasy V. So yeah, when I was a little kid, I had a lot of ear infections, and they put tubes in my ears, and I was this was basically with the military HMO, because my dad was in the Army. Have I played any visual novels? I've played a couple, but I'm not ready to report on them yet. I need to play a few more. And so anyway, one of the tubes that they surgically put in my ears to equalize the pressure, because I was constantly full of drainage and liquid and stuff. That's a cool mount. Wasn't sterile, so I ended up with this really profound staph infection that caused me to go deaf in my right ear. It destroyed my tympanic membrane. I'd had about 5 or 6 tympanoplasties over the course of my life to try to correct that. None of them worked. Later on, I saw a little bit an ENT who just thought a little bit more broadly, and basically was like, yeah, what probably happened was you have bad equalization in your ears. So if the pressure got negative, it's just going to pull that skin graft on the tympanoplasty out, and it's just going to fail every single time. So there's like, until you solve the eustachian tube issues and your allergy issues, there's really no point to doing a tympanoplasty, or to do some sort of like, because my ossicular chain in my right ear is destroyed, like to do a reconstruction of your ossicular chain. So there's that. That affected me for a long time. So I'm deaf in my right ear basically for a long time. I got a Baja to try to correct that, and I'm very glad I got it, because I've started to have more and more issues with my left ear to where I can't hear. So like today I can't really hear anything, and I have to kind of put on my headphones, like really crank them up loud, and then about here I can start to hear the microphone, and I can hear the game sounds pretty good too. And that's pretty loud. I mean, it's not at max, because this headphone amp can drive some pretty high impedance headphones. These are not that high impedance. These are 80 ohms. I think these will push 150 or something, which is pretty high ohmage. Most of your consumer grade headphones are like 5 or 15 ohms. And you can get some that are 50 ohms. Most of my like AKG headphones I've used are 50 ohms, and then these are 80, which is a little higher. And generally the higher, the higher the ohms rating, the little bit more power you have to put into it to get the drivers to respond, but a little more possible balance with the sound. Anyway, so there's that. So yeah, being a bard's very fitting. My main is actually cleric, or white mage. So, but I figured out that you could actually perform this. I'm like, I have to at least get to level 30 on a bard, so I could actually play some music. I'm playing some A minor. There you go. You have to arpeggiate everything, but it's pretty fun. So you can actually sit around and like play some real music. There's programs that will let you just play like MIDI files onto this game, which is really cool too. But that's what most people do, because it's so difficult to perform like with the physical keyboard. So most people just do the MIDI file stuff or play garbage, But I really wanted to like be able to improvise and play live in the game. I don't know, that's a dumb RP thing, but I really want to do it. Oh, Geek Gab, yeah, Geek Gab just ended. Kind of wanted to start a little bit early today to just goof off a bit more with the bard in this game. Beautiful game. I've had a lot of fun playing it. I haven't even gotten to the end of the original base game, and I'm still having tons of fun playing the game. So I guess that says a lot. I think I'm on a bard quest here. Where's the bard? The map tells me I gotta go down there for the bard quest. So let's mount up ye old chocobo and head on down there while we're waiting for people to get in. About 1 o'clock, I want to take a look at the Blizzard. The Blizzard... Where is it? I'm going to link it for you guys. The Blizzard filing. And we're going to look at the actual filing, because it's interesting. It's interesting to say at least, because they're being sued by the department. They're being sued by a government office. And how the government office is trying to establish standing to sue, I think, is very interesting. So we'll take a look at that. You guys are going to be like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen written. With some of the things, there's 10 unnamed defendants. They don't know who they're suing yet. It sounds really bizarre, but I'll explain what they're trying to do, because there's actually like a lot of precedent for what they're doing. I've just never seen it with as many unnamed John Doe defendants as they have in this one. Whoa, look at all these bad guys. Oh, look at these. Those are pretty. One of the things I'm doing with this game is running NVIDIA filters. This game looks really good with a couple of little filters on it. Let me tell you. Let's see what's in here. I just want to look inside this tree. This looks like something out of Morrowind here. I'm into Stormblood now. I can see why longtime players say it's a step down from Heavensward and Shadowbringers. Okay. Good to know. You're not going to always... I mean, like, the thing about MMOs is that you have to do new stuff all the time. It's really hard to knock it out of the park every single expansion. You kind of learn that with Blizzard, right? It's like, every other expansion's okay. It's kind of how it ends up being. You know, might have 2 in a row that are decent, and then like one that's bad, or the expansion starts really bad and then becomes good. You have those sorts of things. It's really hard to knock it out. It's not. Yeah, it's a government office in California, which is suing on behalf of a class of people, because that's the only way that they are actually allowed to sue, is if it's an entire class of people. I'm going to turn down the volume here a little bit. There we go. Let's spam our AoE. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. We'll take a look at it. I still don't really know how to play this class. I keep wanting to kite like a WoW hunter, but I'm not sure like quite what you're supposed to do here. Oh, I forgot I rebound all my keys. Just kind of kite him in a circle. That usually works. But then I always end up like aggroing other guys. Is that all I have to do? Report back to him. That's a pretty easy quest, I gotta say. I wonder if there's a part 2. Yeah. So it's a government office suing on behalf of a class of people, because that's the only time they're allowed to sue. They can't just sue anybody as a public entity. They can only sue as part of the purpose of the Department of Housing and Fair Employment, or I think that's what it is. They are establishing their right to sue in kind of a weird way. So we'll take a look at that, I guess, in about 10 minutes. I'm gonna let people get in. Well, Legion was fun, especially the Nightborn story. So Legion, I played it in beta, and I thought it was awful. They didn't change anything for live. It started as one of the most grindy and annoying expansions. And basically, it was a really annoying grind in that it was just completely it was the easiest version of World of Warcraft to just play in the world. Like, you were completely overpowered compared to anything in the world. Even at the beginning of the expansion, like, nothing could kill you, and it only got worse from there to where you were just one-shotting all the mobs out in the world. And that was the first expansion they tried to do the content matching your level, and they really tuned it way low. They tuned it for like complete idiots. Oops, I missed that. Embrace this song, and as you play it in battle, shall ever more powerful emotions beset and temper your soul. When your stock of tales is grown, pray return and regale me with your stories of adventures. I got a new Bard song. I agree. Yeah, Legion didn't get good till the Broken Shore patch. I agree, Bradford. But Legion finished so strong. Like, Argus was really good. There was lots of things that were just really good about that expansion. Let's see, what new Bard song did I get? Removes one selected detrimental effect from self or target party member. That is going on to Q. For sure. That's my cleanse button. Let's see here. If the target's not enfeebled, a barrier is created, nullifying the target's next detrimental effect suffered. That's awesome. Talk about utility. Could do the duty finder. I bet you there's just like no, trying to do the durability of one of your pieces is noticeably low. Okay, well, let's teleport back here and repair it. I haven't paid attention to my inventory or like durability really at all. It's going to be I bet you this person repairs. Nope. There's going to be a repair person around here somewhere. Oh, this is this new dungeon thing. I haven't gotten to do that yet. I'll try that out. There's so much content in this game. It's hard to know what to do. And I realized, I was sitting thinking about this earlier. It's not that Final Fantasy XIV has more content than WoW. It's that all the content is pretty much just available to you whenever. Like whenever you want to do whatever. There's tons of content, but it's all available to you. WoW does this thing where they cut up the content into things that you can't do or you just have no reason to do later. So either it's part of an old expansion, in which case you're just not going to do it, or you can't do it like the way the content was intended. Like you can, here's the arms vendor, here we go. Like, you know, you can go and do old stuff, but it doesn't end up repairing gear. I am not a disciple of the hand, so I can't repair my own gear. Interesting. I haven't done any professions. I think I'm a level 5 fisher. Oh, I agree, Bradford. Yeah, I don't think the localization's bad at all. It's not bad early modern either. You know, and there's tons of bad early modern in other Final Fantasy games. There really are. And there were some really bad ones in what was it, Octopath Traveler, but I don't find it bad in this one at all. I mean, this is the way I tend to write dialogue in my fantasy stories as a person who writes medieval fantasy for a living. There are 2 deep dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV. Palace of the Dead is the first. This one, yeah. Unlocking comes early. I just unlocked that one. Heaven on High requires Stormblood, so it's 61 plus and has its own quest to unlock. Sweet. Yeah, there's tons of stuff you can do. But WoW started doing it even worse with, I guess with BFA, it started getting worse. So it used to be, and this has always been the problem, there's 2 factions, and so there's 2 sets of content. There's all the quest content for Horde, and then there's all the quest content for Alliance. What's the problem with that? Well, you've cut your available content in half. I'd say in the base Final Fantasy XIV game, there's not nearly as much content as there was in Vanilla WoW, but it feels like there's more because you can do all of it, and it's all accessible and easy to do. Whereas with, say, Vanilla WoW, even walking out to like RFK as Alliance was such a pain in the butt. A lot of people just never did it, and it was impossible to do the instance in Orgrimmar. What was it called? What was it called? Anyway, there was an instance inside of Orgrimmar. You couldn't do it as Horde. There was an instance inside Stormwind. You couldn't do it as Horde, and you couldn't do the one inside Orgrimmar as Alliance. And then if you were Horde, you weren't walking out to Dead Mines. Good luck with that. So there was all kinds of content that was just locked out from the other faction. And that might create some replayability, but most people wanted to play one character in an MMO, and this game really embraces the philosophy of like your one character can do everything. You know, like I could just bust out my harp here and start playing for these people. You know, I could just play a song for these people. There's all kinds of weird things that you can do in Final Fantasy XIV, and none of it feels locked off. Like I could level a Bard, I could stop doing Bard and go back to whatever it is, White Mage. I keep wanting to say Cleric, White Mage. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. It's not all blocked off from you. In BFA, it was like there was the Horde leveling zone and the Alliance leveling zone, and the quests were completely different. Yeah, you could go over to the other one, but you did different stuff. So you had to create twice as much content for the perception of half. You know, the perception from the player's perspective is there's half as much content as there really is. And then you have that times 2, so 4 things now in whatever this new one is, Shadowlands. You have the Kyrian quest, these ones. And yeah, you do some little quests in each zone, but then if you want to do the actual campaign quests, you have to level new characters or something and do them through that new character. So it's cutting a big portion of the content into like a quarter of what's available. On one level, it kind of feels like, oh, there's replayability, but most people aren't going to do that. They just want to focus on their one character and max the power of that one character. And so that's what you end up with. Ragefire Chasm, that's it. Thank you, Bradford. Is the Orgrimmar dungeon. Stormwind Stockades. Yeah. Yeah, half the players never saw one. And then like half the people in the Alliance never went to Wailing Caverns. Wailing Caverns isn't that hard to get to as Alliance. Same thing with RFK, RFD. But, I mean, you really just had Alliance players barely doing those. And, I mean, what was it? Scarlet Monastery was such a good instance for gear and experience. Alliance would still do it even though you had to walk. You had to walk past Undercity to get to this. You're going to get ganked constantly. Just trying to get into... get into Scarlet Monastery to get some experience. But it was such good experience and such good gear. It was so efficient. It was so fun. Everyone wanted to do it. But in this game, you don't feel that. All the content's available. So, like, if I pull this out and just look at the duty finder, this is just the group, the group tool. If I go over to dungeons, here's all these are the dungeons for like the base game. There's quite a few of them. They're mostly pretty short. They're not nearly as dungeon crawl like as Vanilla WoW, but game design's kind of moved on past Vanilla WoW. And as much as I love a huge dungeon like BRD, your typical player is not going to be like, oh yeah, I want to crawl through a balls hard dungeon for 5 hours. No, most people I want to do a dungeon for an hour and then I have other crap to do. That's just the way a typical player thinks now. MMOs were geared towards people with a lot of free time. And even if as a casual player, you'd have to basically wait till weekends to do any kind of serious content because you just wouldn't have time to do a lot of them. Suramar was cool. It had no impact after Legion other than giving a new playable race. Suramar was probably aesthetically one of the best things ever put in the game. And I loved the area. I loved the way it played. It was a lot of fun. And I hate Torghast. I quit WoW. So I quit WoW earlier and it was because of Torghast. I finished my legendary on my priest. And I was like, yes, I got my legendary done. And then it's like, oh, well, you're going to have to upgrade it again. It's like just doing Torghast again, like having to go back into Torghast to get more legendary stuff. Oh, you need to get your Shadow legendary crafted. I'm like, no, I will not craft a Shadow legendary. I can't stand Torghast. It's awful. And then I did re-up around my birthday because I was going to play TBC Classic. And I was just like, nah, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing TBC again. Just can't do it. How's the Vela response so far? Not good. But Vela's still in beta. So I'm not really sure. Let's take a look at Bright Children. I'll link it. So I do have a serial story that's releasing on Kindle Vela. I have been paying attention to how it's been working. But it's hard for me to quantify how it's doing. Because, that information is actually not available to me yet as an author. I actually don't know quite how it's doing. There's no one's really paying for it yet, and I don't have anything on my dashboard that can help me know if people are paying it. People are liking it. There's some likes here, but people aren't spending their money on it. You can get free tokens and read the first couple of things if you want. But, to me, this is an optionality thing, is that, if nothing happens, then I can, it's okay. I can just release that just take it off of Vela and release it as a book. I'm going to do this duty just to try out Bard here, more in a dungeon. And then we'll dig into the Blizzard filing. So you can check that link, take a look at the filing. You're probably going to notice some really weird things right off the bat. What is this? Oh, 1,000 Maws of Toto Rock. I love this. I love the sound of that. Yeah, skip the cutscene. We don't need that. Stephen Kake split that video up into a series of 10 to 15 videos and made a playlist. You'll get folks to watch that. I wrote a 230 pages of WoW 2.0 on a Google Doc. I think I turned off the system music. There's no music going on in here. Should we turn on the system music, or... I don't know if this is a long dungeon. We could just play some of my music. There we go. Doesn't fit it at all. I think I don't like this dungeon. I think you have to go around and collect little things off the ground, which gets a little annoying. Oh, and then I don't have all of my spells available either. That's interesting. Because this is a lower level dungeon. What level am I? Oh, I'm synced to level 27. Yeah, I'm not even synced to be a bard. I don't even have bard stuff. Like, I can't... I don't know, do we have to go back here? I don't remember. Yeah, we do have to go this way, I think. Is there a photo cell in there? I don't remember. None of us probably know what we're doing. Rock can get confusing because it's not a strict corridor. I don't know if there's a way to measure my DPS either. Like, when I was playing healer, it just wasn't... The only measurement of healer is people aren't dying. You know? In one stream, you said something about making an ice cream substitute out of protein product. Could you make a video on how to do that? I've been trying to come up with one that's really easy to do and tastes good, but it's really hard. It's really hard to replicate ice cream. There's a bunch of reasons. Like, the texture's hard to do. You know, lots of stuff is hard to do with ice cream. So... Ice cream's just not an easy one to do. I'll turn that down just a little bit. I'm not getting blasted with these sounds. At least I have my little AoE spell here. So it's hard. I mean, the main way that you can do it is get casein protein powder and basically blend it up with ice and a little bit of maybe almond milk. It's hard to find the right proportions to get it like correct, but if you get it correct, it's kind of has the texture of like soft serve ice cream and tastes pretty good and feels really filling and is only like 150 calories or so, and that's really good. That's really good for like a diet. Keep it low, keep it filling, tastes good. Like, that hits all the boxes for me. But I'm finding ice cream is just one of those things that's really hard to get right. Like cookies, I can make protein cookies that taste like 80% as good as real cookies. Trying to get to like even 50% as good as real ice cream is like impossible, as far as I'm concerned. I downloaded Final Fantasy 14 last week, but I still haven't played it. Nowadays, I usually play listening to YouTube videos. And I don't think it'd allow me to do that. It can. I tend to, depending on what I'm doing, I'll maybe listen to a lecture or something from YouTube. Just kind of depends what I'm doing. You got no bard songs for this little dungeon. Oh, the song started over. We'll do a new song. That photo cell. Here we go. Where's a new song? We'll do Raindrops. These bosses are in a lot of these early dungeons are pretty. There's not a lot to them. I did one the other day though that had like a dragon that had a good little like poison pool mechanic. That was pretty cool. I do like mechanics that make you shift positioning at least, because this is pretty much just tank and spank, and he puts out a poison. I think that's it. Yeah, there's a little poison that he has a little poison cone. That's it. Treasure! Boom, boom. Final Fantasy XIV's level sync mechanic ensures that all content remains relevant. It does this by turning off abilities above a dungeon's level cap and rewarding players for running lower level dungeons. Yeah. I do like that it turns off the abilities, because then it's really like you're tuning it to that level. So, you know, you can tune it like, oh yeah, players are not going to have like an AoE cleanse ability or something at this level. So you can design mechanics that take that into mind. And so it won't be overly easy. But I do notice the earlier dungeons are simpler mechanically, you know, they're simpler playing than the later ones by a lot, which is fine. That you actually want that. You don't want it to be. We have this map. You don't want it to be like so difficult at the start of a game that you can't do it. Like Ragefire Chasm in World of Warcraft is actually a great example. It's so easy, but it has enough mechanics, and you can actually wipe in it if you've never played WoW or never played an MMO before, that it's pretty much all right. Who do you think is the most muscular man who probably got that way without steroids? I don't know. I mean, if you look at someone like Sandow, who that's who's on the Mr. Olympia, Eugene Sandow. Or pretty much anyone from the classical period. I mean, like, if you look at statues from the classical period, you see, like, they look like Eugene Sandow. They look heavily muscular. People in past periods were more muscular than they are now without having to use any kinds of substances, because they were exercising more. They probably had higher tests in general. There's probably like a million things that contribute to that. Main one is that they were around men more often, and they, they were doing more things with their bodies, which were going to, virilize them more. Here, let's look at a picture. Here's what Eugene Sandow looks like. I mean, the dude. Part of it is that he's muscular, but he's also low body fat, so he's pretty ripped for a dude from over 100 years ago, and good looking, So, the thing about like steroids, for example, is that not everyone even responds to steroids the same way. Like, people who are Mr. Olympias, they like respond to steroids really well, meaning their body puts on like tons of muscle when they take steroids. Other people could take the same amount and not get the same results because their body's just different. They have a different body. Some guys look really good without steroids, and then they hop on steroids and their gains don't really go up that much. It just really depends on a lot of things. When you're entering chemicals into the equation, there's a lot of different outcomes that can happen that aren't quite obvious. And then here's the other thing too, is like, there's not that much variation for how you build muscle between people. You lift weights, you build muscle, and you build strength. And yeah, you're not going to build muscle in the same way, at the same rate, in the same places as your neighbor, because you have different genes, different bodies, different nutritional needs. Everything's different between you, and that's okay. You just, you know, if you're trying to do it to be healthy and to look good, you just do the best you can, and you're gonna end up looking pretty healthy and good, I think. Especially when it comes to, say, maintaining low body fat. I don't mind running dungeons. I use the gear to either aid in leveling alternative jobs or to farm up seals for use in my Grand Company. Yeah. I think I need to buy my next rank of Grand Company. You just basically buy it with the little seals. I went with the pirates because I really like the pirate gear. I just like pirates. I think pirates are cool, and I like that this character looks like a pirate right now. I always like dressed my rogue up as a pirate in World of Warcraft because combat rogue, man, that's a pirate. In fact, they changed it to outlaw. Yeah, same idea. Combat rogue. Yeah, fast and slow Twitch fiber types can kind of limit your gains. Some people will plateau quickly, some people won't. Yeah, it just really depends. Some people, they really start slow, like they're kind of like a slow starter, and then their gains like really take off later, you know, later in the cycle of things. It just there's too many things. So it's it's hard. It's hard to say, oh, this is the best way to do it. We kind of more or less, you know, weightlifting's and nutrition too have really been figured out for like 40 years. Like Arnold's exercise plan and diet plan is not significantly different from what a bodybuilder would do today. The main things that changes, maybe it's a little bit tighter on nutrition, or like, you know, there's more like better drugs that you would use that are going to, you know, better performance enhancing drugs that are going to have better outcomes. But, you know, you're still more or less eating the same diet, same amount of protein, you know, doing the same exercises. Maybe you're doing them heavier because, you know, you get more advanced more easily. Since there's no mechanical difference between the Grand Companies, I just took the one in the city I started in. Since I started in Gridania, I went to Adder. Yeah, I went with the other one because I just liked their gear. The gear that you got I thought was cool. This is an Iwi instrument, by the way. This is Iwi. Couldn't get Iwi to work with my little MIDI setup here in Final Fantasy. This is kind of disappointing. I would love to play Iwi. I like to use Iwi in a lot of my music because it's just, you can get some really strange and ethereal sounds out of it. WoW is generally good at producing dungeon content. Just as a, like, their raids are generally good. The problem is it's all the other stuff that goes with it. It's the game as a whole. They put in like a lot of bad mechanics to go with well-designed encounters. That's the problem. WoW's had that problem. It's a structural problem, and they've had it at this point for like 10 years. He's almost certainly on a bunch of steroids now, but do you think Dwayne Johnson was already on them back in his wrestling days? Probably. To some extent. I mean, virtually everyone in the WWE is on steroids. I mean, I can't say for sure. Like, I think he's probably like a freak no matter what, but probably. You know, I'm pretty sure you could look up like more plates, more dates, and he'd tell you what he thinks the steroid cycle is, based on like what he sees. You know. I've been listening to some Dark Sun audiobooks lately. Are you a fan of the Dark Sun setting? I haven't listened or I haven't read any of the books, so I don't know. I probably would be. I'm a fan of the Forgotten Realms setting. My favorite zone I've done so far in this game is Coerthus, like the snow zone here, where like there's like this extremely zealous crusade against dragons. I just thought that was really cool. Boy, I'm constantly poisoned here. Oi. Really enjoyed Modern WoW combat loops. I had a lot of fun playing different classes and specs in Legion. Yeah, I mean, Modern WoW gameplay, like the micro gameplay is okay. I still like Classic better because you had to manage resources. It's a different play. I like play that involves managing cooldowns and resources versus button lights up, press button, which is kind of what WoW devolved into for a while, at least. I remember playing Paladin at one point, and it was just like, oh, this is the Paladin mechanic. What? A button lights up, you press it. And then what? You have? You wait for the next button to light up, you press it. So you just get a mod that has the buttons that light up around the middle of your screen, and then you just press the buttons when they light up, and that's Paladin. At least it was like, I think two or three expansions ago, maybe Legion. I'm trying to remember when I was playing it. I was like, this is dumb. The Ret Paladin was like literally the light up button, press the button class. Have you heard of Manly Wade Wellman's? Yes, I know of Manly Wade. I haven't read any of his stuff though. Oh, I don't think anyone's trapped behind the web this time. We can just ignore that. Oh boy. If we had dragons that destroyed towns and burned farmlands, I would very much expect people to have a crusade against them. Yeah, I thought that was pretty rad, personally. Yeah, I wish there was a way to measure my DPS. I want to see if there is. There's got to be a way to measure your deeps in this game. Like, there's no way that they wouldn't have some way for people to, like, measure their EPs. Yeah, Ret was boring. I played Prot as well. I remember that. I switched to Prot and never looked back. Even though, like, tanking has gotten so easy in WoW. Like, the glory days of tanking were long ago. In my opinion. Oh, shoot. I do like playing in widescreen because I can see the whole room here. This is kind of like a button light up press it class. I was doing a samurai and that was a little bit much, I felt like. I'm gonna kite this guy around a little bit. I'm gonna run and shoot. There should be some boss music playing, but I turned off the boss music, so maybe I have something here. Oh, I just did that one. Whatever. We'll listen to it again. There's a little poison pool mechanic there. That's cool. Move this giant scorpion around. Oh, I can target his tail. Okay, let's target his tail. And then we can also like shoot things. Oh, I AoE'd at the tail and it blew up the poison pod and poisoned us. Good job, Bard. There we go. Yeah, I heard about Black Rifle Coffee, but I don't pay a lot of attention because I just don't care about coffee, so I just haven't paid attention. All right, let's see if there's any Everyone left already, so they're a soul. You get the commendation since everybody left. Agreed on those. Why not? Okay, I got some stuff. Okay. We'll leave the duty. We'll take a look at the WoW. 120. Okay, we're a little late on that. We'll take a look at the WoW thing. Look at this mount. It's like a robot, and she's just like on top of it. Okay. All right. Let's exit this game. Where's my main camera? I'll pull this up here. All right. Turn off the music. Okay. Try to clear my ears a little bit so I can hear myself. Let's take a look at the Blizzard Entertainment lawsuit here. Where did I put it? Put it up here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Yeah, just give me a second to set this up. Because I wanted to, nobody's paying attention to what they should pay attention to in this. So I'm going to point out some things that people really should be paying attention to. Let me put my hearing aid back on so I can have like some kind of external sound of my voice. Yeah, I'd say White Mage is closest to Priest. In my experience, I've played clerics in a lot of games, and I played Priest in WoW. So White Mage is closest to Priest. It has like Renew. It basically has the classic Priest spells, like various heals, Renew, like a Holy Nova kind of thing. It's pretty close to Priest, but it has its own flavor. You're in most light parties as a White Mage, you're going to be doing DPS most of the time. You're going to be putting Renew on people and then DPSing. So you're kind of like half a DPS. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like playing Discipline in that case. That was Final Fantasy XIV. All right, so here is the lawsuit against Blizzard. So let's talk about this. Okay. The lawsuit for against Blizzard filed by a government entity, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Now, if you go look up the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, I'll just pull up their website. This is what their website looks like. So, California Civil Rights Agency. The mission of DFEH is to protect the people of California from unlawful discrimination in employment, housing, business, and state-funded programs, and from bias-motivated violence and human trafficking. That's a lot. So if you look over here at Right to Sue, you may file your own lawsuit for employment discrimination in court rather than using the DFEH investigation process. This is advisable only if you have an attorney. Also note that you receive a right to sue notice. Your complaint will not be investigated by DFEH even if you later decide not to file a lawsuit. That's basically the first question you have to ask is, why aren't the women who are mentioned as Jane Does in this lawsuit suing Blizzard individually or severally? Why aren't they joining together to sue Blizzard for these specific transactions? And you may wonder that because it seems like Activision Blizzard has deep pockets and is would very much be a good target for attorneys. And the answer is because private attorneys will only take cases that they feel they have a good chance of winning. That's because they get paid from the winnings. If they win, then they keep the money. If they don't win, then they forfeit the money. Basically, they do the case for free. So you're only going to take on cases that you feel have a good chance of a payout so that you could pay your bills, because it costs a lot of money to run a lawsuit. And especially with a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, I've been involved in those. You're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars of costs to litigate a serious lawsuit. I think for mine it was $300,000, $330,000 worth of just costs, not attorney fees from the win or anything like that. Just costs and like Xerox's court fees, court reporters, all these sorts of things that add up. It was $330,000, I think. So no one's going to take it on unless they feel like they're going to win. But the government can do it because they have salaried lawyers who, win or lose, they get paid anyway, so they'll do whatever they want. So that's why you have the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Department of Fair Employment and Housing is doing this basically of their own volition. Now, they filed this July 20th, 2021. As mentioned in this filing, the deadline was July 21st. So they filed right at the deadline. This is not uncommon at all. This happens all the time. And the reason is because you are trying to make the best case you can, and the cutoff date, you're just going to file at the cutoff date, even if you have a bad case, because if it gets dismissed, so what, right? If you can't get past motion to dismiss, which is going to be like the first thing, you can't conjure up standing to sue. You can't conjure up, something to actually sue about. You just try, and if you can get past the motion to dismiss, you can keep constructing the lawsuit as you go, and maybe as you get into discovery. And if you get dismissed, okay, you're back in the same position you were before the deadline. So if the deadline comes up, you just file. They said in this that they've been doing this investigation for more than 2 years. Like, I think they said either more than 2 years, and at one place they said 3 years. That's a long time to do an investigation, but there's definitely some weird things that are going on that basically leads me to believe that a lot of the things that are in here, you certainly shouldn't count as being true. The bandwagon right now is to jump on and say, like, Blizzard bad, Blizzard employees bad, they're all bad, I can't believe they're such jerks, I can't believe that they are evil, sex discriminating, rapist assholes, right? Take a step back. Whenever there's sexual allegations, people jump like rabid dogs onto that to try to denounce whoever's being accused, regardless of any evidence, regardless of what courts happen to think about it, regardless of our justice system, anything like that. People jump on it quickly to denounce. I even saw Mark Kern, the original Vanilla WoW team lead, was like, I'm taking Blizzard off of my Twitter bio. Okay. This is a standard thing. All the WoW tubers they're not quitting playing WoW because they still want the views and that money, but they're like, oh, Blizzard bad. They jump on it and assume that everything's true. But let's look back in the past. Are high-profile sexual allegations more or less likely to be false? Well, if you look back in time, they're more likely to be false than true. That's the way things have shaken out. Whether it's Michael Jackson, or it's Brett Kavanaugh, or it is Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, or it is Bill Cosby, or it's really like Donald Trump, anyone. None of these things end up sticking. You notice how many of them actually get stick and go through courts? Almost none of them. And that's because they're usually spurious. They're done for reasons that don't have to do with any kind of crime. Whereas people who are committing actual sex crimes usually get nailed for it. I actually think Harvey Weinstein, people like to point at him. I think Hollywood's probably full of abuse. A lot of the things that are pointed to as his abuse are things that are simply quid pro quo, and not like, not in the realm of criminal, but, you create a scapegoat and you whip him, and then everybody pretends like he was the bad guy and there were no other bad guys in Hollywood, and that's the whole point of that. So let me, the first thing that you're going to get here is you're going to get a bunch of rhetoric. So in this introduction, you basically can defame the defendants as much as you want without any repercussion. You're not publishing a new newspaper article that's defamatory. You're making an accusation in a court of law. You can just do it. So it's very rhetorical. You can read it. Unlike its customer base of increasingly diverse players, defendants' workforce is only about 20% women. Its top leadership is also exclusively male and white. You have things like this. This shouldn't have anything to do with an actual civil lawsuit, but here you go. They've fostered a pervasive frat boy workplace culture. A lot of this is actually it's going to establish the right to sue, because they actually can't sue for specific things. They can only sue for a total workplace thing. Numerous complaints. How many is numerous? What are they? You're going to get to that in the statement of facts, which we'll get to. Once we get to the parties, once you get down here, you're going to get something that's really interesting, and I want to point this out. Defendant does. Okay, first of all, this is establishing their right to sue in the correct venue. Blizzard Entertainment is is now and was at all times relevant to this complaint a Delaware corporation operating in and under the laws of the state of California, conducting business in Los Angeles, California. This is basically saying we're in the correct venue. All right. Here's where it gets interesting. Defendant Does, these are unnamed people. Defendant Does 1 through 10, inclusive, are sued herein pursuant to Code of Civil Procedure Section 474. DFEH is ignorant of the true names or capacities of the defendants sued herein under the fictitious names Does 1 through 10, inclusive. So they don't know who they're suing. They don't know who did any of this after a 3-year investigation. DFEH will amend this complaint to allege their true names and capacities once the same are ascertained. In other words, put this into discovery so we can discover who we're suing. DFEH is informed, believes, and alleges that each of the fictitiously named defendants is legally responsible for the occurrences, injuries, and damages alleged herein. So after 3 years of investigation with these specific Jane Does who are complaining, they don't know who they're suing. This is a problem. Now, if you're wondering, like, how could anyone write a lawsuit where you're not suing anyone, where you're not naming any person? This has to do with vicarious liability. So let's say that there's a company that damages your property somehow, like a UPS driver accidentally backs into your mailbox and knocks it over and drives off. You don't know the name of the guy who knocked over your mailbox. You just know it was a UPS truck. So when you sue UPS, you would say, as a defendant, a John Doe. I don't know who was driving the truck. We will find that out in discovery who was driving the truck that day. But I am alleging that a UPS truck knocked over my mailbox, and I have evidence that they knocked over the mailbox because I filmed it happening or something, or I filmed them driving away from my mailbox being knocked over. So yes, you're suing the corporation because the corporation is vicariously responsible for the individual acts executed by the defendant John Doe. In other words, the person driving the truck is responsible in a personal sense, but when it comes to legal stuff, you sue the company because he was acting as an employee of the company. The company is vicariously responsible for the actions of the employee. This is a common law thing that goes way back to England, like 800 years. This is very old stuff. So if a serf did something bad, his lord would be vicariously responsible for what a serf was doing if the lord was telling him to do something. Like, go over there and do this, and the serf goes over there and does it, or the peasant goes over there and does it, and reports back to his employer, the lord, and then you don't sue the peasant for doing it because the lord told him to do it. That's basically how that works. But we had that same relationship with this sort of defendant thing. Now, 10 of them, there's 10 people. They're saying there's 10 people, and they don't know who they are. Yeah, we did a very thorough 3-year investigation, but we have no idea who did anything. But we'll find that out in discovery. So let us go on a little fishing expedition, and then we'll figure out who we're suing, is how that is. Then the next part. The DFEH is informed, believes, and alleges that at all relevant times each defendant is and was the director, agent, employee, and or representative of every other defendant and acted within the course and scope of their agency, service, employment, and or representation, and that each defendant herein is jointly and severally responsible and liable to the group for the damages herein after alleged. At all relevant times there existed a unity of ownership and interest between or among 2 or more of the defendants, such as that any individuality and separateness between or among those defendants has ceased, and defendants are the alter egos of one another. Meaning, these 10 people who we don't know who they are, we're all acting in concert. Each one acting is also acting under the interests of all the others, so they're all vicariously liable to each other and from each other and to the company. Which is really bizarre. This is like a really weird way to do it. Defendants are the alter egos of one another. Defendants exercise domination and control over one another. How do you do that? Over one another. Now, if there's a chain of authority, one defendant exercised control over other defendants, not over each other. Over one another to such an extent that any individuality or separateness of defendants does not, and at all times herein mentioned, does not exist. All of the acts and failures to act alleged herein were duly performed by and attributed to all defendants, each acting as the joint employer as defendants jointly supervised and controlled employees' conditions of employment, determined rate of pay or method of pay, and had authority to hire or fire employees and maintain employment records. All actions of all defendants were taken by employees, supervisors, executives, officers, and directors during employment with all defendants, were taken on behalf of all defendants, and were engaged in, authorized, ratified, and approved of by all other defendants. So basically what this is very important because you're suing that, first of all, you're suing the company, not the individual defendants. So let's say that we're on like a company trip, because there's a company trip that's alleged in this. And let's say on that company trip, I do something bad to another employee. Does the employee sue the company, or does the employee sue the other person who did something bad to them? Well, on a company trip, this is where it's gray. On a company trip, are you acting as an employee of the company, or are you acting on your own? Like if two employees leave work and go to a bar after work, and then one punches the other one, that's an individual responsibility. The company is not vicariously responsible. They're not on work time. They're not acting as agents of the employer. So this is an attempt to establish that all the actions are always the agents of the employers, and are also every John Doe defendant is acting as an agent of every other John Doe defendant. It's a really bizarre way, but the thing is that as this government office has a very strict and specific realm of responsibility, they have to move it from an area of people being individually responsible for their actions to the company being responsible for the actions, and not just responsible for some sort of tort, but being responsible in a very specific discriminatory way that allows them standing to sue. So with all of that, this is like the most important part of the lawsuit as far as I'm concerned, is these imaginary defendants, these 10, we don't know who they are, and we'll find out who they are in discovery. I've never seen 10. Like 10 is a lot. You can imagine one, because like, one or two, the truck drivers, we don't know who they are, but they damaged our property. These 3 people damaged but 10 is a lot. And they're doing all kinds of other things all over the place, right? So that's one of the most important things of this particular lawsuit, and I don't know why nobody's actually talking about this, because what they're alleging, they can just throw a bunch of things. They're using a lot of rhetoric to hopefully affect a judge, more importantly to affect the public. And here's where you start to get this is venue stuff, which is fine. Government enforcement of actions, this is them trying to basically say that we have the right to sue. They're going to list some cases that they were allowed to sue on that affects it. Then you have all these factual allegations, and nobody's actually listed except for, I think, Alex Afrosabi is listed. I think he's the only one. But everybody else, it's just like, yeah, we talked to somebody, they said somebody did this, but we don't know who it was. So what this kind of says to me is that there really wasn't that much of an investigation. They filed it at the last minute because the optionality says you should. They threw everything into it to get it to go, and basically tried to make a really strong case that all the bad actions of these individuals in the company are representative of company policy, which is discriminatory. That there exists a de facto company policy instituted by the management that is discriminatory against women. That's what they're trying to do with this suit. So all of these specific things, including someone who apparently committed suicide, and I don't want to read it. You guys can read it yourself. Basically said that somebody on a company trip brought butt plugs and lube, and then an employee committed suicide. It's really crazy stuff that they're alleging. But we saw with Brett Kavanaugh, they can allege whatever they want. They alleged that he was involved in giant rape orgies somehow. Anyway, that's where I think is most interesting about this. It kind of says to me, given all the circumstances, that there's probably actually a really weak case. And I could imagine this actually not getting past the motion to dismiss, being dismissed with, say, without prejudice, so that you could go name some of the people that are in it after a 3-year investigation. Blizzard, I think the point of this is to get Blizzard to settle. because Blizzard does not want to go into discovery. Discovery will be very bad for a software company and very bad in this sort of thing. If you allow it to go into discovery, then they get to basically go on a fishing expedition to figure out who those 10 John Does were. They get to interview everybody at the company if they want to. They get to interview all of your management. They get to have depositions for every person who works at your company. They get to figure out things about your software code and make those public. There's lots of things that go into just the discovery phase. And the discovery phase could last years. It can last a really long time with something like this. So you really don't want to go into discovery. So you'd really probably just want to settle up with this government office, agree to pay a fine, and agree to have some sexual harassment training, and then fire Alex Afrasiabi or whatever, and then I don't even know if he still works at the company. But yeah, you create one scapegoat, you run him out, and then you hope that it goes away because you don't want things to go into discovery. I'm not an attorney, by the way. This is stuff normal people should be able to know about the legal system, right? I think it's very, very interesting when you look at this. So that's the Blizzard lawsuit that I wanted to show to you guys. I'm going to link it one more time, right here, and you guys can look at the lawsuit for yourself if you want. Everybody's focusing on, I think, the introduction and then the alleged statement of facts, and not really looking at the technical problems with the case. It's going to make woke employees a liability. So yeah, let me transition to that next thing. I kind of view this as a symptom of corporate cancer. I've talked about corporate cancer. Box Day wrote a book called Corporate Cancer, like a lot of his books that deal with, I guess, the SJW mindset. Corporate cancer, I think, is worth reading for most people. Corporate cancer, the big idea is that companies get infiltrated by people who want to use the power of the company to do things that are not in the purview of the company, meaning the company exists to make money doing something. So they come in and they're like, well, we should use the company to do some other social project. And these people enter into, say, marketing and human resources are the big places. And of course, we see that with Blizzard. Blizzard has rainbow marketing, just like every other major corporation. People are like, I can't believe that Blizzard is like this when they're so woke. Well, the marketing department is woke, but that doesn't mean that all the employees are woke. They could be doing these things. It's quite possible that a significant portion of these are true. And in my experience, most of these things, there's at least one small seed of truth to the allegations, and then people take that seed and be like, well, therefore all the other stuff's true as well. Bill Cosby had some sexual improprieties 45 years ago with some woman who hated him, and therefore he also did all these other insane things too. So that little seed of guilt ends up fueling people's mental perceptions of somebody being a devil. Thank you for the $10, Zeus. I really appreciate it. I'll get to the music question in just a minute. Let me finish this little rant here. So when you start having HR get infested by social justice warriors, and for lack of a better term, they start to hire other people that think like them. And when you hire other people that think like them, they view most of the things that occur in a workplace as something they can take to HR. So you start to hire people that are combative and are sensitive and think they're always being discriminated against and have a mindset of victimhood. And then that's where a lot of these lawsuits come from. So I think it's kind of like cancer affecting the body of the corporation and starting to harm it, is that the employees that you hire that are woke or whatever, they're the ones who start creating the complaints. They're the ones who go and talk to the media. You get disgruntled employees that you fire them because they're incompetent, and they go and they make up a bunch of stories about you to try to smear you, and they get very vindictive and things like that. So I view this as part of a symptom of corporate cancer. It's a real thing, and the corporate world has been dealing with it for 30 plus years, 40 years really. And it's interesting, the software world is finally catching up to this, because you would have this stuff happen in corporations 30, 40 years ago before people realized that they really needed to cover their ass all the time. And they didn't have the COIA cover your ass mentality of basically ensuring that your workplace as you as an individual has had no capacity to sexually harass someone or for someone to interpret that you sexually harassed them even. You just won't meet with people alone. There's a really good rule. You never meet with an employee alone, ever. You never meet with a subordinate alone under any circumstances. You don't go to the bar together. You have no friendships because you just can't. They're a liability. So if you're going to meet with employees, you open the office door so everyone can hear what you're talking about, or you meet with a second managerial position. You know, I need to talk to this employee about their performance, about their bad performance. I'm going to be here, and I'm also going to bring in another manager to sit and witness it so that there's 3 people in the room. And that's just the way you have to do it. And you have to, if you're a manager, you have to support your other managers and always do this. Make it so it's impossible for somebody to think there's quid pro quo going on, and make it so it's impossible for you to engage in quid pro quo. That's kind of how it is. Corporate world figured this out a long time ago, and now the software world is having to figure it out. So that's kind of how I view a lot of this stuff. There's probably some truth to it. And some of the truth to it is things that really would be acceptable under most circumstances 20 or 30 years ago, but are not acceptable today. And that's what you end up with. Okay, so Zeus, quick music question. I really appreciate the super chat, by the way. What would you suggest someone look for in an entry-level electric bass guitar? So the main things I would look for in an entry-level bass guitar is, let me think. An entry-level bass guitar. It actually doesn't matter that much. You mainly want the total build quality to be fairly high. So it doesn't even matter like what your pickup configuration is. If you're beginning on bass guitar, your first bass is just for you to learn the instrument. And once you know enough about the instrument, you may develop preferences for, say, a more advanced instrument that you save up for and buy later that has more options or different pickup setup. It really doesn't matter what the pickup setup is. If you have like a precision bass pickup setup or a jazz bass pickup setup, if you can get a jazz bass one's usually more expensive because it's more complicated. So it doesn't really matter. The jazz bass one, it's going to have more options. I would say if there's one option that might be good to have on a really beginner bass guitar, it would probably be well finished frets. If the frets are really finished well, a lot of cheap guitars, if you run your hand on the side of the neck, you feel the frets really scratching you. And on bass, it's way worse than guitar because the frets are bigger and gnarlier. And so if they haven't filed the burrs off at the factory, it gets, it's not good. I'd say like a maple neck. If you're buying something like an Ibanez, you may have like a 5-piece neck, and that's really okay. Let me grab a bass guitar real quick. So here's one of mine. I'll just show it to you in the camera so you can see it. So this is a Ibanez Soundgear bass. This is I'm probably like I might call it an intermediate bass. It's Korean made. It's good though. It's from the 90s. So at this point it's kind of old. This one has active pickups. It's got like a mid-range sweep in it. It's got like a lot of options for tone, and it's 5 strings. Now, for me to know that I want these things, I have to first learn to play bass. And this actually has a 3-piece maple neck on the back. That's really nice and stable. It feels real good. The tuners are good. Basically, you just want the hardware to be good. I think with bass guitars, the big problem with cheap ones, it really comes down to cheap, like electronic hard. Like they put crappy pots in and they don't wire them well, and you may have to like do repairs on the pots, or the bridges are like just low quality chrome plated stuff that burrs up really bad. But it doesn't really matter with an entry level bass. So just pick something that fits your budget and feels and looks good. I'd probably say make sure you get one that's a full scale bass. You don't want to start with like a half scale bass or something weird like that, unless you really know you have small hands and want to pursue a shorter scale for your bass playing. Like if, I know a lot of women who choose a little bit shorter scale bass, like a 3/4 scale bass, because it facilitates playing a lot easier. Just don't have as big a hands. They can't reach as far down in the first position to play all the notes. But this is not a particularly expensive bass. I bet you could get one with a similar setup for like $500 now, and it would probably be really good. So your first one, just buy something that you think looks cool and you will keep as a backup. And once you learn to really play, then you can save up and think about an intermediate or advanced level bass guitar. And the main thing of this one has really good finished frets on it. It feels really good to play. You're not going to scratch your hand up playing this guy really at all. So it's a good bass, and I like it a lot. Active passive pickups doesn't matter for your first guitar. You're paying extra for the active electronics. You just don't really need that when you're starting out. It just doesn't matter that much. Active electronics are something you can decide on once you learn the instrument a little bit more, and you've gone out to Guitar Center a bunch of times and played a bunch of different kinds of bass guitars, where you can really get an idea what you're doing with that. My first bass guitar was, I think, a really cheap Ibanez. I don't have it anymore. The 4-string Ibanez. So same thing, 4-string, 5-string. Most of your cheap intro basses are going to be a 4-string bass. That's fine. And if you want to go to a 5 or 6-string later on, that's an option. For me, I usually prefer a 5-string because I feel like it just has a lot more range options. It's nice to be able to play the B if you want, and it really can facilitate a lot more playing in higher positions because you don't have to do as much shifting to get down to the lower notes. So I like a fifth string. That 5th string also has a really dark tone, so you can get a good dark tone on higher range notes as well. So yeah, that's what I'd look for. It doesn't matter that much. Make sure it looks good, that it's finished well, that it has like a maple neck. Doesn't matter what the fingerboard's even made out of really for your first bass guitar, and it doesn't matter what kind of pickups you have. Just get one that you like and looks good and feels comfortable to play. Something that fits on your legs well, and something that is going to fit your hands really good for bass. That's the main thing. Everything else can be changed. Even if the frets are finished poorly, you can fix that with a file or give it to a guitar setup guy and he'll fix it all for you. So anyway, it doesn't matter that much for your first guitar, your first bass. You just want to get something that gets you playing and that you like and think looks cool. So I like black because black always is going to look cool. So if you pick a black one, you're probably never going to care too much about it being black. And if it's black, it's never going to look like a cheap piece of crap. A lot of times the cheaper ones have like a candy red like paint job on them, and they don't look very good. They look cheap. So black is a good option. Here, let's get this one down. This is a fretless bass. Once you get playing for a while, you'll come to really think about a lot of the more different weird options you might have for playing bass guitar. This is a double skunk stripe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 piece maple neck, I think, with walnut inset. Pretty nice looking. But the main thing about I got one with the fret markers on it. Like there's inlaid fret markers. I don't really need those or want them, but it was cheap. It was like on mega sale. It was like a $900 instrument. I got actually more than that. I got way off. So and my mom actually bought it for me because she wanted me. I was like, man, I really want this fretless bass. So she got it for me for one of my birthdays a while back. Pretty cool mom, huh? When you grow up, moms get you cool presents too. That's what's awesome. So yeah, for your first bass, doesn't matter that much. Just make sure you play something that you think looks cool and feels good on your hands. And once you've been playing for a while, then you're going to come up with your own preferences for an intermediate and advanced level instrument that is going to really suit you perfectly. Completely off topic, but what are your thoughts on the Roland JC120? What is the JC? Is that an amp? Oh, the Jazz Chorus. I love it. Yes. I love the JC120. I don't have one, but I used one for years as a jazz guitarist, and they're great. They have a great chorus mode on them. They project really well. They have a good, rich, bright tone, which is very good for cutting through the orchestra. Very reliable because they're solid state. They're just a great little amp. I still have a Roland cube. I had two at one point, and I traded, or I think I traded one to my my brother-in-law. And if you're thinking of a jazz chorus, think about like a Cube 80X or something, or whatever the new 80-watt Cube is. It pretty much sounds exactly like a jazz chorus, but it has a lot more options. So I probably wouldn't go out of my way to buy a jazz chorus these days. I'd just play the Roland Cube. It sounds the same, just as loud, but you have more options with tone. So that's my thoughts on the jazz chorus. It's a great amp, good solid state amp. My favorite amp that I've had that I wish I could get back was my my Fender Bandmaster 5005D. This head was really had this beautiful tone. It had a built-in tremolo that was great, built-in reverb tank, which was just, and it was built in the 60s. It's a 1960s Fender. I sold it. I wish I hadn't. It's one thing I really wish I hadn't sold. But I'm like, am I going to use that tone? The clean sound on my Mesa pretty much is the same without the reverb. I thought, I'll just do it with reverb pedals. I really wish I hadn't sold that amp. That's one thing I really wish I had not sold over the years, was my Fender amp. This is just such a great head, man. It sounded so good. And then you could plug another instrument into it and it sounded great as well. All right. Let me check some of the, I know that the chat was like going crazy with all this Blizzard stuff. Let me quickly get it. Yeah, one of the things about, I see some people that's like, well, why would you hire women? We should just not hire women, Yeah, these sorts of things definitely are going to have an effect on discrimination, where it's like, well, hiring women's a liability maybe. You can only really completely avoid that stuff if you're in like a really small company. If it's like a two-man development team, employment law doesn't affect you. You're too small a company, so that's good. Is Ibanez really considered mid-tier? Ibanez has stuff that runs the gamut. There's entry-level Ibanez. There's very expensive Ibanez. And it just depends where you're going to buy in the middle. So, I don't know. Let me look up Musician's Friend real quick. And we'll just see how much like these basses are. You can get really cheap. You can get like $160 basses. Really cheap ones. Or you can get into them for $200. That's a great price. Here's a little 5-string. Here, I'll show it to you guys real quick. Here's a little 5-string bass you could get for like no money. $200. That's really cheap for a really simple bass with options. I think this is a short scale bass though, so just keep that in mind. But you can find like really good prices on bass guitars. Ibanez has everything from like really good stuff to really cheap stuff. There's a fretless bass. I have a Music Man bass. I really like that one too, but I end up playing like my Ibanez more because it has more tone options, even though my Music Man is like the nicer bass. Love your channel, David. Thank you, Infamy. You're my favorite YouTuber. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, Manly Wade Wellman's is a high society playboy, a cult detective. Yeah, I haven't read it. I know some of my friends read it. Yeah, if the electronics are busted, it's not that hard to set up. Got my bass at Goodwill for $25. Good job. Was missing some hardware and strings, but that's not that hard to get fixed up for cheap. If you're brand new to playing, though, that may be like beyond the scope of what you can do. You can hire someone else to do it, but you'll pay a premium. If you already know what you're doing, or maybe you've played guitar, have some experience soldering electronics, yeah, you could just pop in a couple pots and and put a cap on one, make a tone pot out of one, and you're good to go. And you'll probably find online exactly what caps you should use for your tone pots or how to set up an EQ on a bass. Probably without too much difficulty. But if you're brand new, just buy one that functions and you think looks good and will look good as a backup at some point, and just learn, just learn for a while. Like here's a more expensive Ibanez, right? So here's like one that's, it's like very expensive, but it's nice. I'll show it to you. This one is, how much is this one? Oh, I just clicked off of it. Quilted maple top. That's beautiful. $1,600. That's really not that bad for what you're getting. Like, this is a really beautiful piece of wood. It's got a lot of electronics options. It's got this like inset jack here. 4-piece bridge. I don't know if I want 4. I kind of like one tailpiece. I feel like there's better resonance that way. This one doesn't have a maple neck. I always prefer a maple neck. I don't know what neck this is. It'll probably tell me somewhere. Panga Purple Heart neck. Weird. I just get maple. I like maple necks. How many guitars do you own? I don't know. I have to stop and think. There's 5 there, including basses. 1 there. There's 2 in the other room. I got like 4 or 5 in the closet. It's a bunch. Let me think. I have 3 classicals. I have, including my flamenco. So I have 4 classicals, including my gun. So I have 4 classicals. I have, so there are 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have my Telecaster. I guess that's 11. My Guild, that's 12. I got that red weird one. I guess it's 13. I don't know. Oh, and then a Music Man, that's 14. Oh, and then my 12 string, 15, and then my steel string, 16. Not including like my wife's instruments, I guess I have 17. I might be forgetting 1 or 2. What does frat workplace even mean? I always hear it in discrimination lawsuits. Do they mean coworkers are getting along and are friendly with each other? That doesn't include them. I think what they mean is that they're raunchy. Like they're raunchy and they party all the time and they objectify women. It's an imaginary thing of what frat parties are. Some frat parties are really like that, but most frat parties, girls like to go to them because girls have fun at the frat with the frat boys. Why do you think girls show up to frat parties? Is it because frat boys are like groping them? No, it's because they want to talk to frat boys and they like them. Most are not like that. So, there's that. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's rhetoric. It's rhetoric is what it is. All right, let's play some Final Fantasy. I'm taking too long to get to this. I think I have 1 more hour here. But I wanted to do that Blizzard lawsuit. I wanted to talk about that stuff for a little bit and just goof off in Final Fantasy 14 a little bit. Let's see here. It's Final Fantasy 10 too. Let's plug it in. I'm gonna show you the most annoying part of this game that made me like not want to play games this week. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. All right, here we go. So yeah, this little the Thunderlands thing, you got to go up to these towers and do like a dumb little mini game if you don't get attacked by monsters. There's a dumb little mini game here. Actually can't see what I'm doing. I'm gonna kill that guy. There we go. Couldn't steal fast enough. Alright. We need to... Let's, switch to, what, Black Mage? No, we already stole from him. Let's see here. Hit him with some black magic. True male workers to identify as female. Problem solved. Not really. My violin of 5 years has 2 cracks on the belly. Too expensive to repair. My church donated, so I can get a new professional model. Extremely humbled. That's nice. Just keep on raising your defense, buddy. And I'll spam some magic at you. Before everybody dies. You're hitting for 7. There we go. Do you play the violin? Not well. I could play the violin well enough to teach like elementary school kids how to play in the first position. Yeah, this is the worst minigame in the history of the world. I just want to show it because I hate it. And I'm like, if I have to do this minigame to get good gear, I guess I'm not getting good gear. I know there's some rewards for doing it. There's gotta be. There's gotta be good rewards for doing this awful minigame. It's so bad. Ah, you can only miss 3 times. Press the wrong button. And then it gets super fast at the end to where like it's impossible to get it going. I am positive I'm gonna fail at this, so I'll do my best. The last one I had to do, it's like I did 5 of these of like insane difficulty, and then the last one I had to do, I had to do it like 30 times to get it right. There we go, I failed. You have to do it 30, you have to get 30 of these and only miss 3, and it gets faster and faster. And then I came back out on the other side of this, and there's 5 more towers. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna go back and save the game, and then we can play Final Fantasy V. I did 6 towers. I'm like, that's enough. I'm not doing any more of this stupid mini games. Where am I? Alright, let's just go out the other side. I think I already saved the game, so it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go back to the little save point here. Hopefully nobody attacks me, or I'll just run away. Kevin Smith backlash, probably. I mean, it's hard to believe to me that like Kevin Smith has fans. Like that just, it's like Kevin Smith has fans? I'm like, I guess he does. Let's save this. Oh, take it easy, Jared. But yeah, I mean, it's just more skin suiting. And the only reason skin suits are relevant is that like fans make them relevant. You know, that's really what it is. It's really just that the fans, you know, the fans make them relevant. They keep talking about this kind of stuff. So, open up Adrenaline here. Get this going. I don't know why I switched that. So this is like a PSP, I don't know, front end for playing PSP games on the Vita, because there's PSP hardware in here. It's really cool. So he deserves to lose fans. He lied to everyone. I don't know what exactly he like lied about. Kevin Smith's proto-angry video game nerd. This is 4. It's 8. Wait, is that 7? That's Final Fantasy 7. There's 5. Here we go. Apparently, Kevin Smith once had a reputation as being a king of the nerds. He used to joint host conventions with Stan Lee. Yeah, he had Stan Lee in his movies before it was cool, I guess. Yeah, watch the original He-Man. Why bother? Like, why are we watching these remakes? It's because fans are like, I liked He-Man, I want more He-Man, and I think it would be cool if someone did cool, really good He-Man. And it's like, well, they're not going to. They're never going to do it well. They're never going to do a good job. So just stop. Stop asking for it. Which one is the most played? I guess that one. Turn my hearing aid so I can hear the music a little bit. There's that cough drop. Let me get dry mouth a little bit. Everything he does is a sequel or a reference to some pop cult. It's true. Clerks, I mean, I remember watching Clerks as like a teenager and I thought it was like super funny and I really liked it and I'm like, oh, Kevin Smith is cool. Mallrats was kind of funny. Chasing Amy was really boring. And then Dogma was just straight up bad. But, you know, what you gonna do? No, we already did the dance last time. Wish you hadn't sold your PSP. Well, if you got a Vita, you can always play PSP games. I wish Sony would really come out with like another, you know, another successor. But I guess, I don't know. I think at the time would be good for it. And Steam is coming out with a portable console. If you got Valve coming out with a portable console and you don't have one, it's like, what are you doing? Go this way. Chasing Amy is so boring. You know, the dialogue almost holds it together, but the dialogue is so fake. You know, it's like it's them trying to set up gross jokes about sex, and that's kind of funny if you're like 17, but for the most part, it's actually some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen when you stop and think about it. It takes so long. Most of it's completely irrelevant to anything that's going on. It's really bad. Dogma, however, is just straight up a retarded movie. It has like some of the dumbest misunderstanding of Christian dogma that exists. It's not a good plot or story. The characters are not interesting or fun or likable. It's really stupid. You know, it's full sacrilege too. So if you're completely don't care about the sacrilege at all, maybe you'll like it. Ooh. These guys are hitting hard. This flying pig. This is a flying pig. Called a fairy walk. Hit him with those rings. Yeah, I can't think of any good Netflix originals really at all. I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there's some that aren't like, that just, I don't watch a lot of shows and that's kind of why. Yeah, Dogma's the r/atheist Pulp Fiction. Yeah, it's so stupid. Of course, and this is the guy who said that, like, Marvel would be the Bible. People take inspiration from the Bible. Is that what you think the Bible's about, dude? Is that what you think religion is? I was offended that Chris Rock was in that terrible movie. He's done better stuff. Oh, man, look at this dragon. Zero. Oh, man, we are in for it. I think we need to run away. Zombie breath. You're a zombie! What is a zombie? Oh, the zombie attack your own guys and you can't be killed. Alright, we died. Well, that was fun. Clownfish TV had a scoop from Netflix employee telling them that the show was really going to be a bait and switch about Tila. Smith repeatedly claimed this was false. I think we all knew that that was going to be the case. They wouldn't, you know, you can't make something with like a main character that's male at this point, even though like the original story was for males, etc., etc. They even made Tila it's a male model with some slight makeup and longer hair pasted on. I've seen some artists be like, here's Tila without the long hair, and it's like, well, that's just a male character design. There's like literally nothing female about that at all. Which you think the best instance of a director playing a bit role in their own movie? Probably Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction. Have a good one, Sun Engraver. Appreciate it. And we got sapped a little bit here. I don't know what that pink creature is. Let's get that guy. Mandrake. Drowning the tears of a mandrake. Yeah, I think I like that one in Pulp Fiction a lot. What denomination of church do you attend, David? Right now, I haven't attended church in a while because they've all been closed. Oh, wait, we're not doing this because it killed us. We'll talk about that some other time when things are a little more resolved. Kevin Smith not only repeatedly lied, but after the premiere, he also bragged in a gloating manner in a video about how he found a way to kill He-Man not once, but twice in the show. We knew he didn't like He-Man, he wasn't a fan of it, so like... But that's pretty much par for the course. Like, you hire somebody who hates what they're directing, like, to direct it, or to run a show that's based on a property they hate, and then it comes out as a hate letter for that thing. Who'd have thought? It's like, why don't you hire me to do Sex and the City? It's going to be a hate letter to Sex and the City. Because I hate Sex and the City. But yeah, they should totally hire me to do a reboot of Sex and the City. I'll write it. And it'll be how they all end up with like chlamydia and gonorrhea, pregnant, and alone, and on antidepressants. So it'd be like, this makes, you know, living life in the big city as a single woman realistic, not fun. I don't want to turn on a show and be reminded that what I'm doing makes me miserable. I really think Sex and the City, I truthfully think Sex and the City was directed towards high school girls. Because I knew girls in high school who watched it and loved it. Or like college-age girls. Because what it sells them is this idea that they're going to have all these fun, crazy adventures and a fulfilling career in the big city. And I've known multiple women who did it. They went out and moved to the city, and then it like turned out to be way expensive, the career's not fulfilling, and then they get older and they can't find a suitable mate in the city. You know, things get worse and worse. Let's see what's in here. What is this? A Moogle. Koopo. What's a Moogle doing here? A Moogle? They're odd little creatures that live in the woods, scared of everything and almost never show their hides. Let's help it. Yeah, you're just giving them free advertisement. Talk too much about it. It's okay. I mean, no, like, there's not that many people watching this right now that are going to watch it. But yeah, any of these reboots, they're always skin suit reboots. You know that it's not going to be a skin suit reboot if the original people are doing it. So that's the line. If it's the original people doing it, it's not a skin suit. If it's not the original people doing it, it's a skin suit and you should ignore it. And not only that, but I mean, maybe there's an active thing we should do. Like, you should maybe ridicule people who watch it. Why are you watching a children's show made by someone who hated the children's show who made the children's show about how much he hates children's shows, that children's show? You know, don't watch children's shows. You're an adult. Maybe that's what we should do, is just ridicule people. Yeah, once he got hired for the show, he pretended to be a He-Man fan. That works. Worked for him. All products must punish the audience for being pathetic enough to consume it. Yeah, reboots always suck. I have said this before, like, the rule is we're not going to... First rule is you're not going to watch a remake or a reboot in theaters. Can we damage this slime? Apparently not. Apparently we can damage it with fists, though. Let's try, oh no. Drain sword. Octopus. Mog Eater is what that's called. Do some damage on him. At least my monk can do damage. Let's get that Mog Eater. Get to him. Yeah, if you care about He-Man, just watch He-Man. Watch the original He-Man. There we go. Yeah, just watch the original He-Man. If you like Star Wars, watch the original Star Wars. You know that the stuff they're going to remake now, it's not going to be good. So that's the dividing line. If it's done by the original people, you can watch it. If it's not done by the original people, don't watch it in theaters. If it's a movie, probably just don't watch it at all, unless like you just have to watch something. You know, stop watching remakes, stop watching reboots, stop watching sequels that don't have anything to do with the original creator. We have to really focus on who makes it. Who makes it is the dividing line between garbage and not garbage. And at the very least, if the person who made it, it's like people who didn't like, I don't know, Prometheus. Well, Prometheus was made by Ridley Scott. He's allowed to make Prometheus whatever he wants to make it, as far as I'm concerned. He's like the original director. He can go in some weird direction if he really wants to. If it had been just some random schmo who made it, definitely be a movie that you shouldn't have gone and seen. So it's all about who does it. That's really the dividing line. That's who you should pay attention to. Who's making this? Not, Oh, they're making a franchise because they know that the brand attachment for most people is the franchise, not the producer. You know? They know that most people, it's like, oh, I like Terminator movies. Yeah, but that's really James Cameron's franchise, and you shouldn't have a Terminator movie that's not made by him. Whoa! To be fair, a few reboots or sequels made by people not involved in the original turned out very well. Jumanji sequel. I haven't seen it. But I don't really watch movies. Not anymore. 2021, like, just turning on a movie has bad optionality for me. It's like, I could turn on a movie. I probably won't like it. Alright, I'll do something else. I'll probably be bored by it and annoyed by it. Okay, I'll do something else. Acrifis is what these guys are called. Let's kill that crab. Man, that coral sword or whatever that the red mage has is hitting hard in here. I haven't watched any shows or movies in over 3 years. I'm almost there. In fact, I meant to do a video on it. I went and saw Boss Baby 2 because I was in Bakersfield and my family was like, we gotta go see a movie. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I really don't want to see a movie. Like, that's how I feel. But I'm gonna go see one because my family's going. Should have healed up. You know better than that. Heal up. Everything made nowadays includes terrible writing, was playing Vader VR, and the robot talked like a snarky millennial. The era will age terribly, I agree. I'm very good at determining whether I'll like something before I watch it. Yeah, I mean, if you could trust reviewers, or that's applying a filter. I'm at the point where I'm like, you know, I don't make enough money doing this to be other people's filter. That's not fun for me. Oh no, I wanted that chest. Will I be able to get it? Yeah, maybe if I had like a million subs or something, and I could put out a movie review and get a lot of views. Like enough views to even just pay for the ticket with reasonable expectations of recouping that money. Yeah, dude, I'd go see movies. I'd find a way to go see movies, but, you know. I don't like to do that. It's a very not fun thing for me to go see bad movies. I've seen so many bad movies. I'm done seeing bad movies. I haven't seen a movie since Last Jedi. It'll end up being the last one I see of my own volition. New bolt sword. Let's see here. Actually, I can do Rama. Judgment bolt. Bam. There we go. My low attention span makes it hard for me to watch movies. I can watch 3-hour documentaries, though, strangely. It's nothing strange. The documentary is presenting you interesting information. It's kind of like when people are like, man, I have such ADD. I can't, I hate doing the dishes. everyone hates doing the dishes. The fact that you don't have task focus when doing the dishes doesn't mean you're highly disordered. It means maybe you just don't have the best discipline ever for doing dishes. Let me just hit this with Bolt 2. Can't wait to get double cast, man. To get double cast, it's going to be game over for these guys. Sure, 2. I think that's my family getting back from Costco. I got out of going to Costco because I had to do the stream. Movies are such a decadent, wasteful art form. Amazing how the left monopolizes such a waste of energy while claiming the Earth is in peril. Oops, I guess you go there. Go Bolt. Here we go. Yeah, that's a good point, Nordic Chief. There's a lot of there's actually good low budget movies. It's just people focus on the blockbusters because that's what has the big impact. And I don't think it's wrong to like focus on blockbusters, especially from say a cultural perspective, because they do have an impact, you know. Thank you for the super chat. On the not watching new movie shows bandwagon, don't even miss them at this point. Recommend. Yeah, I personally I would much rather like play this game or you know, read a book, like chill out and read a book. If it's like I have 2 hours of free time, what do you want to do that 2 hours of free time? I'm like, I am going to play Final Fantasy 14. When I'm bored of that, I'm going to go read a book for 2 hours. Oh, you have 2 hours and you can't play a video game. What are you doing? I'm reading a book. There we go. That is what I'm doing. Have you considered doing what I do, finding trusted reviewers? No. Nope. I just don't like modern movies are just too much of a time sink. Oh, baby girl, are you here? Are you coming to see me? Come here.
Aurelia,
Come.
out.
It's okay. Come here. Look, I'm playing a game. You want to see yourself on the camera?
Whoa, it's a blue light.
It's a blue line. You want to say hello to the people? Say hello.
Hello.
Here's my beautiful girl.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Do you see yourself? Yeah, on the blue light.
Up here.
It's getting so big.
See that? When you gonna win, then Baba, Baba, baby, back.
Are you ready for? Did you take a nap on the way, or are you ready for nap time, girls?
I think she's ready.
Mwah. What's that, bud? I was playing Final Fantasy V.
Okay.
Want to see it?
Mama.
Let's do some magic.
Ooh.
Some cure magic.
Ooh. I love you, buddy.
Fill our health. You're so sweet to her. I need to use the loose.
Baby show?
We're gonna watch some baby show with Mimi?
Do you want to watch story time?
She was watching something last night.
Hey, did she take a nap on the way? Cat, you're not supposed to be in here, Cat. She's gonna try to eat the guinea pig. Come here. You are not allowed in here. I know you want to eat the guinea pig. This cat says that she should be able to eat the guinea pig. You guys think she should be able to eat Archimedes the guinea pig? What do you think? Should you be able to eat Archimedes? No, I'm not gonna let you. It's like I hear him squeaking. I want to eat him. Yeah, for me, it feels good to just be able to like focus on the things that I really like. And, you know, I can always watch an older movie. There's like 80 years of great Hollywood movies, and I don't mind going back and watching an old one I haven't seen before. You know. You think guns are a good investment for the future? Absolutely. You can always resell them at high value. If they become illegal, you can resell them at even higher value. If you hold on to them when they're illegal, which you shouldn't. But yes, absolutely, they are a great investment. And I don't like to use the word investment. Technically, they are an investment in the economic sense that you're buying a capital good. What are you going to do with the gun? Well, you can have fun with it. You can go shooting. You can go hunting. You can... I think... I'm going to go check this room because I think that might be a boss fight. Oh, man. Let's steal. Can't do any damage anyway. These stupid slimes. Let's try... Bolt 2. Yep, she got big. Lots of my friends are so obsessed with games and movies. Yep, I know. And it's kind of weird to be the weird person that's like, I don't really know or care what you're talking about. Let's see if kick does any damage to them. It does some damage. Alright. Can I fight this guy? That's 0 damage. Alright. Summon Rama. Ramu. I don't know if it's Rama or Ramu. My method of figuring it out if something is good before watching keeps you from getting burned out due to the bad stuff. There you go. Enjoy. Cats are never fully domesticated. That's a cat that decided that she was our pet, too. Cats domesticated themselves. So this cat showed up at our house and just wouldn't leave and kept wanting to come inside. And then we're like, she's a pretty cat and she is really sweet, so we'll just let her in. That's how they get you. You get inside and get free food. Oh my gosh. Are you gonna give me 6 of those things? Obama was the greatest gun salesman of all time. He would threaten to ban guns and everyone would run out and buy them. Okay. Okay, that didn't take me anywhere. I was kind of hoping there'd be like a little spot I could use a tent or something. Guess not. Crunch! Yeah, I've never been able to not recover value out of a gun. In most cases. I should say never most of the time. I think I'd be hard-pressed to think of a time where I actually didn't recover a value out of a gun that I got rid of. Like, I can think of times where I didn't recover value out of guitars, out of cars, certainly. But guns, man, they might be just like an inflation hedge on their own. Especially as time goes on, you know, people want the older quality guns in a lot of cases. You know, like the Belgian-made Brownings and Belgian-made Browning Auto 5s, which I have a bunch of those. They really hold their value and they go up. And they're great to use in the meantime, too. And here's the other thing about owning a gun. It's kind of like owning jewelry, right? Is that, let's say the value of the gun goes to 0 after 30 years. You used the gun for 30 years, though, so you got value out of it. Same thing if you buy art and then it becomes worthless. Well, did you enjoy having the art on your wall? Well, then it was a good value. My second cat simply wandered onto our street, clearly starved. We took her in and she stayed. Just more than doubled my money on 2 guns and a 22 long rifle sold during COVID. Just remember to own guns that serve a purpose and don't let it become a consumer habit. Yeah, some people, they just like it's... that's a good point. Yeah, some people, it's just they buy them to have them. And there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, if that's like what you want to do is collect guns. But they're a useful tool, so I think it's good to have the use out of them. 22s are actually very useful as well, and they're cheap. They're super cheap to shoot. You know, they're cheap to operate and maintain. Cheap to buy. Reina, Moogle! Kupo! Kupo! Slime party. Ew. Let's just go. It's just technically, I think you can ignore the slime. Yeah, I think the slime actually won't do any damage until because he does that drain. So if he's only doing the drain and he's at full health, it does 0. So if we just leave him alone, he should like do 0 damage until we decide to like start damaging him. Oh, he starts taking damage on his own. It's 0. Couldn't steal. There we go. Red. Set him with... I think Bolt is working. Boom! There we go. Now I get to fight a skeleton. What's the reparations rebuttal to immigrants who weren't in the country prior to the 1800s? That's your tax for entering the country. There you go. Let's go... I don't think bio will work on a skeleton. I don't know what break does. Let's try ice. I don't know what works on skeletons. Really, holy does, but I don't have like holy, so. We'll try bio. Let's get some heals going here. Boom, 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 boom. Monk hit's pretty good. Whoa, yeah, that hits hard. That guy hard. Man. Let's see if he's got anything to steal. Nothing. Alright. So we should really start casting Protect on everybody. It's probably like the best thing to do here. So that'll cut down on the damage quite a bit. Whoa. Now he's hitting extremely hard. Oh no, I meant to raise somebody. Dang it. He's dead. Oh, we're gonna fail this dungeon and have to start all over again. That's gonna suck. Isn't it? That'll be the end of the show. We already paid for welfare. Is that not reparations? I don't know. You tell me. Dead. Yeah. I don't think I can catch up from this. Oh, I'm out of mana. Do I have a potion? I have some potions, okay. Who needs the potion? We're gonna go with Drain. Try to keep his health topped off at least a little bit here. Red. Here too. Any anime you've been watching? Demon Slayer. I'm watching that a little bit. I think I'm almost done with it. Dead. Oh man. Getting wrecked here. There we go. Reparations would destroy the black community, which soon happens with people with zero experience with managing money win the lottery. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think mostly it's just a meme at this point, though. You know, like, it's just a meme. Like, oh, well, we'll give them reparations, but then, you know, they can't say anything bad after that. I think I'm gonna fail this. We're gonna try to the... No! Oh! That's alright. It's okay. Just... This Tyrannosaurus is just wrecking us. I think I'm gonna... I think it's the end. I have one more Phoenix down, I think. Or do I? I'm out of Phoenix Downs. Oh, that maybe the drain is doing damage to him. Oh, that's what it was. The drain was doing damage. All right, I wasn't paying attention to the colors. Yeah, so drain does damage to your own guy. I thought it'd be off there, but all right, yeah. All right, I think this is it, guys. I don't think we're gonna get him. We failed. But yeah, paying the blacks to have children out of wedlock destroyed the black community. That's from Thomas Sowell, ex-Marxist. He saw all the problems with welfare. Yeah, whatever you subsidize, you get more of. Whatever you tax, you get less of. So we tax the productive people so they've had less children, and we subsidize the unproductive so they have more children. And this is across racial boundaries, by the way. It's just, of course, it's going to affect the black demographic more because they started in the lower demographics, of course. So that's part of it. But you see middle class, upper class blacks don't have this problem nearly as much as the ones in the lower places. So it's just something interesting to look at. Yeah, I mostly think reparations are a meme at this point. So I'm going to call it now because it's almost 3 o'clock and I've been streaming for 2.5 hours and I got to use the bathroom. So I do appreciate everybody hanging out with me for a while and playing some music in Final Fantasy 14 on the old MIDI keyboard. We'll try to get a little further in Final Fantasy 5 maybe this week. So we'll see what's up. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great one.